Next, we'll pivot to a topic we actually touched on last episode. However, there have been some developments, so I thought it'd be worthwhile for us to revisit today. And that deals with pocket listings, also known as delayed listings, and how these ultimately impact the home sale ecosystem as a whole. There are real estate brokerages out there, Compass, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, just to name a few of them, that want the ability and have been fighting for the ability to keep listings more in-house. And the argument we discussed last episode was that there are home sellers out there that might not necessarily be comfortable or want mass exposure for the home sale. Could include getting found on your Zillows.com, your Redfins.com. In some instances, you can make the case home sellers don't want that. So the certain real estate brokerages are making the case, we want the ability for a certain period of time to keep that in-house, a little bit more quieter, and market the property that way. Now, under the Clear Cooperation Agreement for the National Association of Realtors, previously, that would have been a big no-no. Whereas when we take in a listing, when I'm about to market a property for sale, once I start marketing that property, I take the listing, I start marketing, I have 1 day to enter that property into the multiple listing service. The changes now are that the home sellers, if they so choose, can restrain the amount of exposure that the properties get. However, they need to sign a certain disclosure acknowledging they have been informed, they know the pros and the cons of doing so. However, they have elected to do this. So it's not something you necessarily opt out of. It's more of an opt-in. I don't want maximum exposure to my property. We talked last episode. I think this is a terrible idea if you are looking to sell your property. If you're an agent, good on you, because you're obviously trying to double side the deal, right? So it's a very difficult case to make for why this is good for home sellers. But if it is your home and you are very comfortable with the fact that this is how I want my home sold, I want it in a specific manner, I want to direct it at a certain group of people. Maybe we don't want to say group of people because then we run into fair housing, but I want it marketed in a certain manner. If you own the home, should you have that ability? I think you could easily make the case, yes, that if it's your property, if you own something and you want to sell it a certain way, maybe you should be able to do that. Now, who that hurts is kind of the home purchasers as a whole, the whole population, because if only a quarter of the home buyer population actually gets to view it, is that really fair to the other, call it 75%? I don't know. That's a little bit messy. Who also thinks it's messy is Zillow, because Zillow has said, if you go about putting parameters in terms of what kind of exposure your property is going to get. So let's say you say, I don't want to be found on Zillow on the big platforms for a week or something like that. You are going to get blacklisted. They are not going to let you on at any point during your home listing. So why would Zillow take such a kind of a draconian stance on people wanting to do this? People coming to Zillow, eyeballs on Zillow is how Zillow gets paid. And if suddenly people start to view Zillow as, well, Zillow has some of the listings, but they don't have all of the listings, I need to go to other websites. That's not great for traffic for Zillow, for Redfin, for Realtor.com. So in an effort to kind of fight back against that, they're going to say, great, if that's the stance you want to take, where you're going to deny access or delay access from the property coming onto our platform, congratulations, you're never getting onto the platform. Best of luck in your future endeavors. So great on Zillow. I think it's fantastic, especially for kind of your mom and pop operations like myself, because if we run into a situation where the larger brokerages start keeping more and more business in-house, from a purely selfish standpoint, that's not great for me, right? Because sure, I could start keeping stuff in-house too, but my transaction volume is going to be a fraction of what your Compasses, your Century 21s, your Coldwell Bankers is going to be. So yeah, from a purely how do I keep my lights on standpoint, I think it's great what Zillow's doing. I think we want maximum eyeballs, as most sunlight on listings as possible. But also just from a consumer standpoint, when I go to buy a property, I want to be able to see everything. I don't want there to be secret shadow listings over here and I got to go onto each individual company's website to try to track these things down. I don't think that's healthy for anybody. So I'm glad Zillow's doing it. It's good for me. I think as a whole, I think it's good for the real estate industry. But in this one particular case, you won't hear me say this often, but I'm with Zillow. I think they're doing the Lord's work here. This is fantastic. So yeah, keep up the good fight. If you are a home seller and you are asked by your agent, hey, is this something, how do you want to market your property? What kind of exposure do you want? Unless you have a very good case for no, I think you really want to push for get this in front of as many people as humanly possible, whether it's Zillows or the MLS or social media or newspapers or radio, whatever it is. You want as many people as possible seeing your house. So if for any reason your agent says, hey, I think I can do it better just by doing it a different direction, be very careful with that, because that's going to be in your agent's best interest. I don't know 100% if it's also going to be in your best interest as well.